Hi everyone, Heather Cuesta here. This is week 3, assignment 2. We're drawing a sphere using a full range value scale. Your instructions were to create a value scale of 10 to 12 values using the HB, 2B, 4B, and 6B drawing pencils. Then on the same piece of paper, draw a sphere with a cast shadow using as many values from the value scale as you can. We're continuing now with the work of Kevin, Terrence, Tracy, and Lowell. If you'll watch my previous video for your classmates, that would be great because I don't always repeat everything twice. Okay, let's begin now with Lowell. Okay, Lowell, you tell us that the sphere was simple, but it was actually a little trickier than you expected because the ball cast two shadows. So the competing shadows made things a little more difficult. And you explain why it's important to use an entire range of value when shading because not all shadows are equally dark. So that's exactly right. The shadows, think of the shadows as a form that is just as tangible as any other form in your still life. The shadows are extremely important. Okay, Lowell, let's take a look at your drawing. Okay, Lowell, first of all, very nice work. My impression is that you did a very nice job, especially in this shadow. Let's begin with your value range up here. Okay, it's going to be a whole lot easier if you'll set up your value range in comprehensible steps. So right now, this step right here, this very last one, this is nowhere near the white of the paper. You need to continue this value range lighter, lighter, lighter until it dissolves into the white. Now over here on the dark end, these two are extremely close. This 100% that we're just going to call black for convenience, this black is very close to this black. So may I suggest maybe setting up 10 boxes and with very clear separations, such as you've done here. You have nice clear separations. That's very good. But you really try and see the difference between these grays as you transition from the pure black, which is 100%, down to a 50% gray, which is probably around here. Now take a look at these two grays. They're also very, very close. You've got some white streaks in here that give the impression that perhaps this is lighter, but that's one of the reasons why you have this full range of pencils. Your upper regions of your value scale are going to be made with your softer pencils, 6B and above. Your lighter range is going to be made with your harder pencils, so your H pencils are going to be down here on the lighter end of the value range. So let your pencils do most of the work. Try to keep an even pressure and just switch pencils when you need to go darker or go lighter. So, okay, now, Lowell, I think you've done a lovely job overall. As you said, this shadow was tricky. It's a competing shadow. What you've got is two competing light sources. Now this is unusual. Usually there's a dominant light source and a less dominant light source. Here it looks like your two competing light sources are pretty similar. So may I suggest moving to a darkened room, taking a table lamp with you, and setting up a single light source. That'll make things much easier for you, especially as we move to more complex compositions. Think of the shadows as objects that are just as important as the object you're drawing. And map out those shadows before you even begin going into your drawing. If your shadows are not creating a nice composition, if they're not located in an area where you want them, just move things around. And the shadows are so important. They can make or break a still life. So if you work on that, that would be great. But regarding these shadows, very nice work noting how the shadow is not one constant color. The shadows transition out as they dissolve into the light. So you've got your inner shadow that's darker. You even have an intermediate shadow here, and then your outer shadow is right here. Very nice work blending it into the paper. I'm not seeing a lot of outlines. Good job on that. Okay, you might want to perhaps work on some of these individual brush strokes, just controlling your pencil. Try and keep things super even. The last thing you want is texture inside of a shadow. The texture is acceptable inside of a form, but keep those shadows super, super smooth. You actually have done a nice job transitioning up here. It's not that easy to control your pencil and keep this nice even tone as it creates the volume of the sphere. But very nice work. That looks very nice. Now the last thing I'd like to note is this heavy outline. This heavy outline is flattening things out. So let's work on that outline. Okay, I just did this in Photoshop a minute ago. Just try to take off the heavy outlines. Let the change in value define the edge of your plane. That will be enough. So If you don't feel there's enough of a change, then just go a little darker, but try to avoid those outlines because that's the quickest way to flatten out a drawing. But Lowell, overall, beautiful, very nice work on this. Thank you. Okay, Tracy, thank you for this very long and detailed narrative. This is perfect. This tells us so much. Okay, down here, I thought it was interesting that you had to wait until nightfall so that you could set up a single light source that was very clear. So, yes, I totally agree that could be inconvenient, but it's the way your work here definitely paid off. Your drawing looks fantastic. So that kept things clear and comprehensible. A single light source. That's perfect for what we're doing here. Up here, you tell us that you began by mapping out the shadows. That's exactly the way to begin. The shadows are just so important. I can't stress that enough. The shadows are just as important as the object you're drawing. So locating them in the proper place before you even begin drawing is very, very important. Okay, Tracy, let's take a look at your drawing here. First of all, Tracy, this is lovely. This is exactly what we're looking for. I'm seeing so many good things here. Let's just begin with your value range. I see a very clear distinction between each value. If this represents 100%, now you're going to 90, 80, 70, 60, 50, and so on. So we can clearly see those steps. So that's perfect. Now when you look at your still life, you can match up the gray that you're seeing with the gray in the value scale, and that will help a lot. I like the way you are transitioning your, hold on just a sec, let me pick another color here. Okay, this transition here is very nice. Okay, you don't have an outline anywhere. You're just transitioning your value. You're letting the edge of this one value create your line. You're not creating an outline, so that's perfect. You've done that pretty much everywhere, and that's exactly what we're looking for. Beautiful control of your pencil. It's not that easy to hide all these individual pencil strokes, but lovely, lovely work in all of these transitions, particularly in the shadow. I hardly see any pencil strokes here. Very nice transition. Very smooth transition between your values here. I can differentiate your inner shadow, which is the darkest portion, from your outer shadow, but yet there's a very smooth transition in between. So this outer shadow is allowed to lighten up. Your light source is pretty bright. It's creating these bright highlights and this pretty distinct edge of the shadow. If your light source were moved farther away, this edge would become less distinct. Tracy, I think you've done a beautiful, beautiful job observing this sphere, and I thank you for your effort. It looks lovely. Thank you. Okay, continuing now with Terrence. Terrence had some fun with this assignment. He used the entire range of values to create a smooth transition between dark and light. That's exactly what we're supposed to be doing, Terrence. So keep practicing that. That's perfect. Okay, Terrence, let's take a look at your drawing now. Okay, Terrence, I think you've got some very nice things going on here. Your transitions here are very smooth. The contours of your drawing are following the curvature of the sphere, so that works out well. That helps to define this sphere shape. Now, I'm not quite sure what's going on with your value range here, but the same thing that I've tried to explain for all of the others. Just continue this value range. I'm not seeing anything on this lighter range here. This is stopping at maybe a 40% gray. You'll want to see 30, 20, 10, and finally let it dissolve into the white of the paper. Putting them together like this made things probably a little bit confusing for you. This is interesting, the way you got your 2B to go almost as dark as the darkest of the 6B. In general, my suggestion is to let your pencils do the work. To get something this dark in 2B, you probably had to bear down quite a bit. And I bet if you looked at this in the sunlight, you'd see a sheen, a shininess. That's what you want to avoid. So you want this dark velvety black without having to bear down. So that's why we have this range of pencils. Okay, Terrence, very nice work here, keeping things simple. You have a single light source that's casting the shadow out in front. So very nice work on that. Terrence, a couple suggestions here. My main suggestion is this outline right here. I'd say take a sharp eraser and pull off that outline, because this is the part where your highlight is hitting. This is the lightest part of your sphere, and this outline is acting like a shadow. So let's just take that off. Okay, so just let the transition in values define your edges here. Okay, so your viewer will be able to tell where the edge is, and you've got a very slight change in value here, so that will make your sphere look much more, make its volume look much more convincing. The other thing is the shadow right here. Your light source was probably very close, and you probably do have a very crisp shadow. But nonetheless, try to let this shadow dissolve into the light just a little bit, and that will help a lot too. Just something kind of like this. The shadow can be more distinct up close to the object, but as it dissolves, as it moves away from the object, let it dissolve into the light just a little bit. Chances are your shadow was doing this. I wasn't sitting there, so I can't say for sure, but I suspect if you looked very closely, you'd see a sharper line up close to the object, and then it would dissolve a little bit further away. Okay, so Terrence, very nice work on this. Just keep practicing and keep doing what you're doing. Looks good. Thank you. Finishing up now with Kevin. Kevin, you tell us that you used a desk lamp and you put it on high, and you got a very strong light source, and the light even reached around the object. Okay, let's take a look at your drawing, Kevin. Okay, Kevin, your drawing is lovely, as always. I'm not sure what's going on here. Whoops. I don't know if this was intentional. I'm not sure what this square is doing here. Now, Kevin, one thing that I would like to note is your classmates are working in pencil, and they have to create their values using the pressure of their hand. Your values are already done for you. Okay, right here are all your steps of your various grades in Photoshop. So at the outset, you have a much easier time of it. Blending in Photoshop is just so much easier because you can use a very soft brush. You can create these lovely, nice edges. Kevin, you clearly know how to draw. I would like to ask you to at least. I would prefer that you work in paper, honestly, because you already know how to do this. So I would suggest challenging yourself with something new. But Kevin, this is lovely. You clearly understand light and shadow. For the most part, you're avoiding outlining. Here's a little bit peeking through here. You might want to get rid of that. But overall, very nice work here. Your shadow, I'm sorry, your highlight was extremely bright and is casting almost this whole ball into a shadow that's not really transitioning through these mid-ranges here. This sort of core shadow. You might want to take a look at this again. I wasn't sitting there, so I can't say for sure, but there might be some reflected light that you're not getting here. But Kevin, this is lovely as always. You have a great deal of talent. You obviously know how to describe objects. So thanks a lot, everyone. I'm looking forward to seeing how you progress. I think you've done a beautiful job applying all of the techniques that we've been practicing so far. Beautiful work overall. So thank you very much.